सिया राम, जय जय राम सिया राम।
जो जीवन का सार समझ ले, जीवन उसका है। जर्रा निकाले जो माटी, सब कंचन उसका है। जर्रा निकाले जो माटी, सब कंचन।
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Any questions?
Janki ji, I have a question, but it's too long for the chat. So maybe I'll break it up into two parts. But it's more ramblings than the question. So please excuse me. So let me see. Yeah. I tried to make it precise, but I simply couldn't. So I was just putting my thoughts as if they were coming to me.
Oh, wow, that is big. Okay, let me go up and see it.
Or maybe I can read it out.
Yeah, you can put your video on. Okay, so good. At least you took the trouble of writing all this out, and that's really nice. Because the more effort we put in our questions, the more likely we are to find an answer. The absolute truth is that I am not this body, mind, intellect, and the self. Okay, very good. I have to make this absolute relative to me, correct? There are two parts to this problem. I have to believe I'm not the body, mind, and intellect, I'm the self. No, here's where you went wrong completely. You're not expected to believe it. How can you believe it? That would be hypocrisy. I mean, you think you're the body, mind, intellect, and you say to yourself, I'm not the body, mind, intellect. That's not being authentic to yourself. That is being that's a hypocritical stance. So either you see the possibility of your stature being larger than what you currently believe it to be, or you don't see this. So you have to be authentic to yourself and decide what am I being able to relate to? That's step one. Okay, so you don't have to believe anything. In fact, that's the wrong way to do this. You have to ask yourself, what is it that you do believe? What is it that you do agree with? And start from there. Now let's see.
So the basic premise is wrong. So everything else probably won't make sense. Okay, now I understand. But yeah, you can continue.
You can now, if you have another question, you want to adjust. Let's read what you have written. If I theoretically accept the first part, the second is almost impossible to conceive. Okay, fine. At least you've established what is okay and what is not okay. Good. I don't know how to make it relative to me because I'm not even sure if I believe this absolute truth. So the question still stands. How do I make this relative to me? That still stands. Making it relative should come after accepting its certainty. No. How can you accept that when you don't? So you can't start on a premise that you don't accept. You have to always start on a premise that you do accept. Right. So do you accept, like for instance, do you, for just for argument's sake, accept that let's say all desire is the only cause of agitation? Do you accept that? Right. So then, theoretically speaking, there may be a state where of zero desires. Theoretically speaking, there may be. We don't know whether there is or there is. Right. But we know that, let us say, I'm just taking one example, okay? We know that lower the desires, lower the agitation. Let us say I have X desires. Could I try to make that X minus Y, whatever? If I believe the premise, which is all agitations are caused by desires, then reduction of desires must definitely mean reduction of agitation. So the question in front of me is it possible now for me to reduce any desire? That is the question. That is how you start making it relative to yourself. You take any fact which you know and then relate it back to yourself. Okay.
So this part is easy, that desires cause agitations. Reduction of desires would definitely mean reduction of agitations.
Correct.
That part is, I don't even need to struggle with that. What I need,
why
the struggle is when I'm saying, no,
what need is there to struggle? You do what is comfortable and easy, no? If you're able to relate to this, and then your question becomes, how will I reduce desires? Can I reduce desires by reducing possessions? Can I reduce desires by reducing income? Can I reduce desires by indulging in them, going all out, going to the mall every day?
So that part is the relative part, is what you're saying. Questioning how do I reduce desires is the relative part.
To this idea, yes.
To this idea. Okay,
yes.
Now I'm getting it.
So whichever one you take nature means change. Everything is going to change in the world. So by nature, we mean prakriti. That means everything, not just nature as an outside nature, but everything other than the self.
So this question is, sorry. This question is in continuation to the last week, where we were discussing that we have to somehow accept this idea that we are not the body, mind, intellect, and we are the self, and make that absolute truth relative to you.
No. If you accept that you are not the body, mind, intellect, but the self, you have to make it relative to you. If you accept desires cause agitation, you have to make it relative to you. If you accept all prakriti means change, then you make that relative to you. Whatever concept you understand, theoretically you feel, okay, that's correct. Now you have to see how that relates to you. That means relative to you. Means, okay, what am I going to do with it? I know everything changes. What am I going to do with it? Right? So for instance, let's say there is a young person. Let's say Manit. He is a young child and he has some desires. Now, in few years, these are not the things he will want. So now that he has these desires, whatever it is, buying some dinky car, I don't know, whatever Manit wants at the moment, this is the only short phase in his life he's going to get to enjoy that thing. Because after that, he's not going to be able to enjoy it. So how can I conduct myself so that he does enjoy that thing at the right time? Is one way of doing this. Similarly, for you yourself, there are some people who just keep preserving things. I was unfortunately involved in clearing out stuff after somebody had passed away. And obviously, I knew the person. So as I was clearing out, I saw this beautiful stuff, like beautiful tapestry, beautiful stuff, all yellowed and unusable. And therefore, it was my very difficult task to have to just dispose it off because it can't be used. And yet I know that this was where this person had kept things which were dear to that person. And so once I'd gone to an elderly, my father-in-law's friend's house, and when we came to this house, he gifted us a carpet. An elderly gentleman. And then when we had gone to his house, he told me, with all our good in mind, he said, it is a beautiful carpet. So he said, you must fold it up and keep it. And then when guests come, open it up. And when I heard that statement, I remembered that tapestry, that yellow tapestry. And the belief is I have to keep it for some special occasion, which may or may not come. And in that much time, one will be dead. So what is the point of preservation of these possessions? Whatever you have, enjoy, dispose, give it away. Let it be used for the purpose it is being used. Let it break, let it get spoiled. Because you preserve humans, you don't preserve possessions. So that's just one thing that struck me at that time. This may or may not apply to you, because this is how it appeared to me, right? So this is now a matam, an opinion. But the law will stay the same, that everything in this world will change. Right? Now you have to take this and bring it down to what does that mean to you? And how would you like to make some change in your life that brings that truth into your life? What action are you going to change? What emotion are you going to change? What thinking are you going to change? That's the concept of making every truth that you learn in connection to yourself. Not connection as in an egoistical connection, but in thinking about what changes will I bring in my life in accordance to this truth. But now there's a problem here. Because if you make changes in your life in accordance to truth, let us say everything in this life changes. Okay? Therefore, I should not stay with my wife because one day she will not be here. Right? So you can apply it in strange ways in this world. So before you make it relative to yourself, the step before making it relative to yourself is the step of
living it.
No, when you live it, that means you made it somehow related to you, no? Then only you could live it. So before you make it relative to yourself, what do you have to do?
I think maybe use your intellect and understand if it makes sense.
Understand what the concept is. Right? So once you understood the concept properly, then you make it relative to yourself. Now you are never going to know whether you understood it properly or not. So when you make it to your relative to yourself, it is an experiment that you're performing to find out whether your understanding was right or wrong. And once both your understanding and the results that you obtained in the world match, you know you are on the right track. Okay? So now I'm going to read this further. Making it relative should come after accepting its certainty. No, making it relative is a method, is one of the two methods you apply to make it certain. The real problem is I'm not certain that I'm not the self. Obviously, nobody is. If anybody is, there's something wrong with them. I buy this intellectually only because somebody who seems to know more tells me so. Yes, that's how we do it. We accept the words of the wise. They say this, so we accept it. We accept it means we are willing to think about it. We are willing to, if some idiot says something, you're not willing to think about it. But this is told to us by the wise. So we are going to say, okay, let me understand what you're trying to say. While many others have told me something else and they never came to a consensus later. Okay, who are the others? We are not going into. I hit a roadblock because I'm told I'm the self and that self is God and hence I'm God and only my desires have trapped this God. So now I have to make it relative to me when the problem is in fact I'm not even fully convinced by this. Look, it was much simpler to conceive that there is a God I want to get darshan of and that by intense bhakti eventually my desires lessen to the point of having only one desire, that is to have his darshan. I will actually see him and escape from the cycle of birth and death and reside with him thereafter in Vaikuntha, Golok, etc. If that's what appeals to you, then stay with that. Remember, everything is wrong. What you said now is wrong. When you say I am the self, that is wrong. Everything is equally wrong. So stay with the one that appeals to you. Okay? For some of us, it just sounds impossible that there is a golok, that God will give me darshan, that he will bless me, and then I will get all my desires. It sounds impossible to some people. They're more Gnostic, let us say. Gnostic means they can't. It just sounds too fantastical, all these things. So for them, they use the path of jnana. For those who can accept this, they should accept it and proceed in that path. Okay? Though you also have to know how to make this idea relative to yourself. What is intense bhakti? How is God being in Golok? How is that going to be made relative to yourself? Even here, you will have to figure all that stuff. Okay? So do not, even Mahesh has this problem constantly, and Varsha also. So you all have all joined the same team that, yeah, Advaita is making more sense. Then please use Dvaita. There's no problem in using Dvaita, Advaita, Vishishta Advaita because only the end result differs. Everything else stays the same. And when we get there, we'll find out. As of now, we are far away.
This has always been my problem, and I've expressed it in many different ways, which is why did these people, the believers of Dvaita and Advaita, finally not come to a common consensus? Why have they left it open?
Why should they come to a common consensus? And even if a teacher chooses to teach the Dvaita, why should he go and agree with somebody who chooses to teach Advaita? Like, why do we need them to have consensus?
Because ultimately there is only one truth. So the Advaitas are saying that the truth is I am God, and the Advaitas are saying that there is a God beyond myself. So either of these statements have to be true, right? I mean, how can both of them apply?
From Advaita's perspective, both are true. Because both are saying exactly the same. There is a God other than me means there is a God, there is a Atman, there is a self other than my body, mind, and intellect, where me is understood to be the body, mind, and intellect. So there's a God apart from me, correct? And when the Advaitins are saying, I am God, they're saying, I am not the body, mind, and intellect. So for an Advaitin, they see no difference. They say, yes, everything is correct. Even the Jainas take that stance, that everything is correct. Advaita also, everything is correct. That is why in Vedanta Treatise, we will come to it, this discussion we will come to. And we will resolve it by the great words of Hanuman, who supposedly is the greatest bhakta, highest intensity of bhakti, and seems to be total Dvaita. So we'll read what he said when we come to it. We are coming to it soon. Okay. All right. So where were we? We were studying the characteristics of a person of self-realization. Once you have realized the self, once you have merged with God, once you have got darshan of the Lord, whatever in the world you want to call it, whenever you know the ultimate truth, whatever that be, how will you behave? Is the question that this chapter is trying to answer. So we studied power, love, knowledge. Now we were on self-sufficiency. What is self-sufficiency? The less you are dependent on things outside. So look at what happens to a plant. It is completely dependent on the fact that water is within its reaching distance. It's not moving, but within its reaching distance, water should be there. But an animal will move itself. So therefore, its dependency is lower. The flamingos come here and then from the, what is that, Siberia, some are supposed to come from Siberia. I mean, all this is going on, right? All these creatures are wandering all over the world. The fish are going from the warm currents, cold currents to warm currents, they're moving all over the place. The animals are moving because they're less dependent. They have more power to achieve whatever they may want. But humans, they are in a different plane when it comes to this. What a human being can do is incredible. It can conceive the stars. It can decide to go there. Humanity is amazing, right? Because it can think beyond its own petty desires. Petty desires mean मुझे खाना कहाँ से मिलेगा, पानी कहाँ से मिलेगा, this territory is mine, यहाँ नहीं आना, ये मेरा है. Think a bit beyond that. That is the nature of that being. And you can see how humans have dealt with it, right? We don't have to depend on our legs to take us anywhere. We don't have to depend on our wings to take us anywhere. We have created machines. Then we are so lazy, we not only created machines to do our work, we have also created machines to do our thinking for us. We say, okay, Baba, even instructing them is too much trouble for me. They say engineers are the most lazy people because they're always creating something that will do the work for them. So they've now said, okay, now I have to at least think, to make all these machines. Let me create something that will decide what to do and do it. I will sit down and drink chai. So human beings have got tremendous independence from the world. But the dichotomy is that they are terribly influenced by the world. Isn't it? That's an amazing thing. So much independence. You can do so much with this world, but the world only affects us. Instead of being the Lord and Masters, we are the slaves of it all. So though we have some kind of self-sufficiency here, we seem to not have it. So how do we get full self-sufficiency? We do it when we shift our attention from the body, mind, intellect to the self. And this is where we had come. So far, so good, everyone. Now, when we say shift the attention to the self, some people can do so. Some people wish to do so. Some people can't do so. Some people don't wish to do so. It is fine. All we have to know is that we need to make this relative to ourselves. If so, how? What sensible statement can you have that would be as good as this, but doesn't expect us to believe anything? So to do that, the most simple method of doing it is wherever you see the word self, replace it with
God.
Self and God is the same thing. Replace it with
I.
self, I, God, same thing.
Goal,
Sorry?
goal,
Very good. Replace it with higher goal. Just goal is not good enough because goal doesn't give you independence so much. Higher goal. Now you say, oh, I can't think of a higher goal, then goal. But as high as you can conceive, because if you really think about what is the self is the universal principle in all of us. So even if you think of the universality of all of us, you're still saying the same thing. Is this clear so far?
Janki, you said higher goal. Why not ideal?
Same thing. Ideal
Same
is
thing,
a
no?
higher goal. Another word for higher goal is ideal. Okay, can you all tell me how it's going? Is it okay? Either you have to give me a thumbs up or you have to put a video on so I can look at your face. So if you're sleeping, then I will know that it is not okay. So one of the two should be done. Both also are fine. Okay. Thank you. At least now I know that y'all are not sleeping. Meera, please can you give an example of replacing the word self? What do you mean give an example of replacing? Any higher ideal? Not sure what you mean. Where are you, Meera? Replace the word self with this is universal, okay, throughout the book. Wherever you see the word self, replace it with higher ideal if you're not able to relate to the self. If you are able to relate to the self, keep it the self. If you're not able to relate to the self, make it higher ideal. If you're not able to relate to higher ideal, make it
a goal.
goal. Very good. Okay, clear? Please, this is a knowledge, a subject meant to help our lives. So everybody has to make sure that that is happening. There is no point having a bunch of information or life is going the way it always did. Right? So it's your responsibility to ensure that what you learn is something that can be used for your well-being and everybody else's well-being and welfare. Yes, Omkar.
Janki ji, let me present this paragraph that we just did and try to replace the word self with higher goal. And I struggle. The outside world constituted of the objects, emotions, and thoughts can affect your body, mind, and intellect, but not your higher goal. The higher goal within is immaculate. It's transcendental. Nothing terrestrial can influence it, affect it. Now, the first sentence itself, I struggle with because
Right.
my
Good.
higher goal, the outside world, will affect my higher goal.
No, that's how you're making it relative. Good, Omkar. I'm so glad you're actually trying this out. The outside world consisting of, no, keep it there. No, then I can do it with you. The outside world constituted of objects, emotions, and thoughts can affect your body, mind, and intellect, but not your higher goal. What is that sentence supposed to mean? Please, can anyone tell me the outside world constituted of objects, emotions, and thoughts can affect your body, mind, and intellect, but not your goal, not your higher goal? Please explain that sentence, someone. You can give an example, an illustration, a logic, whatever you like, but explain it.
I think I got it now. Whatever may happen in the outside world, you will remain fixated to the higher purpose. That should not change. Although temporarily things around you might change, or for example, the freedom of the country was a higher goal. Even if there was a struggle temporarily, that goal always remained.
Yes. And the world was affecting the objects, emotions, and thoughts, that's the world, was affecting the body, mind, intellect, but the goal was not affected. In other words, no matter what happens, you continue working towards your goal. Okay? Now the self within is immaculate. Right? Now, what does the word immaculate mean? Can you look up a dictionary? I'm doing this with you so that.
Immaculate would be pristine, right? Very
Okay,
clean.
look up a dictionary, open the dictionary, take the word. Now,
Janki ji, can also give an example of the higher goal of building the university and the problems we faced in crowdfunding, etc.
not facing.
So we didn't lose the goal before us, even though we had a lot of problems.
We didn't lose it, and the goal is not affected by these things.
Correct. Yeah. Now it's clear.
Great. So immaculate, perfectly clean, neat, or tidy. Means basically unsullied, right? Unsullied means what? Nothing has interfered with it. It was not spoiled because Shahid Bhagat Singh, the gallows affected his body, but it did not affect the movement for independence. It's unsullied by all these happenings, right? Any higher goal. Then next word was what? Transcendental. So a higher goal transcends your body, mind, and intellect, right? It's beyond your body, mind, intellect. It's beyond your personal, what should I say? What will happen to me? What will happen to my mummy? What will happen to my daddy? It's beyond all of this. It's transcendental. It transcends your perceptions, emotions, and thoughts. Nothing terrestrial can influence it or affect it. Right? In other words, nothing can interrupt your goal if you choose. It shouldn't.
Yes.
So please understand, everyone, that Vedanta, we're shouting it from rooftops that it's a very, very practical subject. It is not a subject that, oh, let us all think about the self and go into meditation. It is an everyday thing. That's what Ramatirtha says, right? Vedanta brings your religion that flows in your bloods and in your veins and arteries. It is written in the brooks. It is spoken in the winds. Every moment is a Vedantic moment in everything we do. Always remember his words. If you feel that my life in some parts is divorced from Vedanta, go back and read that quote. Let's read it again together. Where is it? Does anyone remember where that quote is? Here it is. In this book, it is on page 17. The great apostle of truth, Swami Ramatirtha, pronounces, Vedanta brings you a religion which is found in the streets, which is written upon the leaves, which is murmured in the brooks, which is whispered in the winds, which is throbbing in your veins and arteries. A religion which concerns your business and bosom. A religion which you have not to practice by going to a particular church, mosque, or temple only. A religion which you have to practice and live in your everyday life, about your hearth, in your dining room, everywhere you will have to live that religion. Remember that this is not a religion which is a Sunday practice. It is not 5 times a day. It is not Jumme ke Jumme. It is not every Tuesday, they go to Ganesha or Shiva or none of this. It is every moment of your life you will have to live this. Then you are living Vedanta. There's nothing in your life other than Vedanta, in the sense that you are able to see the laws operate as you function all the time. What you have learned should be an explanation of what you are seeing. And when you see it, you say, I studied that. It's just the way I learned about it. That's how you should feel. It all turned out exactly as it was predicted. That's how you should feel. Oh, wow, I'm seeing it. People are behaving in this manner. Wow, it's exactly what was supposed to happen. And when it becomes a living reality to you, then you will not stop but work so that it works for everybody, because it is something that everybody needs. Imagine if we all could understand what's happening. We wouldn't have wars, we wouldn't have climate change, we wouldn't have marital disharmony, we wouldn't have drug addiction, we wouldn't have alcoholism, we wouldn't have anything. How can we not work for this? How can you work for anything else? Do you not understand? Do you not see? So the moment you begin to see it, you feel this is the only thing we have to work. Because if this has benefited me and everybody I know, it's going to benefit everybody on this globe. It's a cause worthy of a victim. And if that victim is to be me, so be it. Remember when Laodomia said? In Laodomia, that's what Treatise says, right? A worthy cause, a victim did demand. Okay, I'm willing to. Because I know what is being given up for what. Okay, so bring it into the business of daily living. It's not some high emotions, but a daily and constant reality. Atma tu satam prapta, said Atmabodha. Atma tu satam prapta. The truth is ever there. It's not going anywhere. You may choose to know it or not, but it's not going anywhere. It's right here. Okay. Now, shall we proceed? Up to this point is clear, right? Everyone? Anybody has a problem? So whenever you see the word, if you're finding it difficult to relate to the idea of self, wherever you see the word self, replace it with a higher goal. If you replace it and it doesn't make sense, then please ask in class and we will see how to make sense of it together. Right? Now where? Bobby. All right, so who will read this paragraph?
I can read it.
Please.
To live up to the status of a human being, you must shift your focus of attention from the body, mind, and intellect to the real self. To the extent you identify with the self, thereby detach yourself from the material equipments, you shall be freed from the persecution of the world. You shall gain your independence. A self-realized person, having merged with the self, becomes totally self-sufficient, enjoys absolute independence, revels in supreme liberation. So here the author is saying that if you identify with the self, which is beyond the material equipments, to that extent you'll be freed from the persecution of the world. And just like the self-realized person who has become the self and is now totally self-sufficient and not dependent on things of the world and enjoys absolute independence and liberation.
Very good. But you could have stopped with your first two sentences. They would have covered anything. To the extent you identify with the self, you are freed of the world. Simple, right? Now let's try it the other way. To the extent you identify with a higher goal, you are freed of this world. Can anyone tell me what that means? What does you are freed of this world mean?
The happenings of the world don't affect you as much because you are focused on the goal.
Very good. The world, you are free of the persecution of the world, right? Because something bad happened, you are not going to get excited. Because something good happened, I mean, excited in the sense of agitated. You want, if something good happens, you're not getting excited because you are focusing on one thing and one thing only, which is what takes you to your goal. That's all you can think of. So great. If it's nice, great. If it's not so nice, well, so be it. But you are focused on what you're doing. And you will find this true even of people who are achievers of the world, that they are less affected by what is happening. You see, Warren Buffett is least affected by whether the stock market is going up or down because he's focused on what he's doing. He'll tell you that. You listen to him. There's a very good, one of our class members, he's very good at this share thing. And he also does it. So just in conversation, a few days ago, now I reach out, just before marathon, I have to reach out to everybody. So I called him up. And in conversation, he was saying that the only way, I mean, he's so good at it. There are a few people in the class who are very, very good at this. And both of them in different contexts have told me all they do is switch off from what everyone is saying. Basically, just don't get affected. And if you ask them where they learned it, they will tell you. In fact, where is Meera? Meera, you should speak to him because you have been writing about in the journal about people who have done a lot of service. So he has done service in the sense that he's so good at this, he does it for other people also. The thing is, if you ask him, he will attribute his entire success to his study of Vedanta. So you can speak to him, maybe, that's a different sort of
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, perspective on how Vedanta is helping multiple people because of one. So,
Janki, who is that person?
sorry?
Who is that person?
I don't think you know him. He doesn't attend class now. The whole problem with people attending classes and doing well in life is that they do so well and they do it all so good that they stop attending class. It suits us because they do so well, and then that's how a university is getting built. It suits us like that, but it's sad because everything is working very well for them, and so Vedanta falls off. Not falls off, they of course appreciate it and respect it and all of that, which is good, but the sadhana is not there anymore, unfortunately. And there's only one notable exception to this rule. You know who?
Mahesh.
Okay. No, there's one notable exception in the world. I mean, Mahesh has done amazing work.
Mittal, Lakshmi Mittal.
No, Baba. He never did sadhana from the beginning, as far as I know. Only one person who's an exception to the rule, that he went up and up and up and up in life, but did not give up Vedanta. You're right, Ashya. I don't think even the person himself knows. Correct, Ashya. I don't know. He went up. You know, right? You know who Ashya is talking about.
Is it Deepak
No,
Parekh
Deepak Parekh.
of HDFC Bank?
Arun Sehgal, ji.
Yes, that's right. He went up and up and up and up the corporate ladder and still is continuing to study, which is a notable exception. But everybody else,
Not a good example, Janki ji.
great example, great example. I mean, you yourself know, right? I mean, I know that it's embarrassing to talk personal things, but you know where, at what grade you had started and where you finally went. I mean, and you continued to study, which is amazing. So it's rare, it's very rare. The better people do in life, the more quickly they get off the Vedanta bandwagon. Then Vedanta is something they say, very good, I appreciate you so much, I have so much respect for you. All of that, which is good, nothing bad in all of that, but it leaves something to be desired. Yes, Omkar.
Auntie, I have a issue with one sentence, which is this one. You shall gain your independence. I think that attaching yourself to a higher goal traps you into that higher goal, and therefore you are still not independent. Why would you say that you gain your independence?
Good question. Can anyone answer it? There is a standard line we use for this. So if you remember that, you can say it.
Detach to attach.
Superb. Very good. When you attach to the higher, you are detached from everything lower. Got it?
Yeah, but you are extremely attached to the higher, right?
Right.
So there is no independence in that sense.
There is reduced dependence. You will not be independent until you merge with the self. But your dependence will come down because when you attach to a higher thing, you are liberated from everything lower. For instance, as a child, you were very attached to your playthings. And if a plaything broke, it would break your heart. But when you became a teenager and got attached to those things, then whether those toys were there, not there, you don't even know. So you become detached from the lower when you attach to the higher. Then as a teenager, you were interested in so many things. When you became an adult, the teenager level things dropped off.
But my contention, Janki, is that let's say earlier I was attached to many lower things. My attachment was not as intense. It was spread across many lower things. And now I have a higher goal. My attachment to the goal is so intense, although it is singular to the higher goal, the intensity of that attachment, I believe, is much higher than the flittering attachment I had with many things lower. So I don't find independence in that.
Because your comparison is not equal. You are like the teenager will say that about his toys. Right? That when I was a child, I wasn't so involved in my toys as I am in my girlfriend now. Right? That is what is the teenager's claim. What is the child's claim? When he was a child, as much emotion as he was capable of having, he had for the toy that broke. Okay, now as a teenager, he just like, forget it, I'm not interested. I don't feel so intensely. This teenager who feels so much for his girlfriend now, who's not even a girlfriend, just a girl he knows in college, so intensely. When he has a wife and child, he will know what emotion is. He'll say, oh no, that was just a fling in college. That was just a crush. That's how they talk about it. At that time, what did that person say? Then when a person grows up even from the family level to another higher level, he'll say, he will talk the same language because they are all talking from their levels. Then they don't remember what they felt earlier. They dismiss it. They say, well, that was nothing. This is it. So you're right. You are attached. And also there is a second thing that even with the goal, you have to stay objective. That is there. And some people don't. And so they suffer. But at that level, suffering is possible. You will not have suffering below. So you're independent of everything below. Until you reach the self where everything is below, so you're independent of everything. But the higher you go, the less dependent you are.
Okay. Got it.
Right. Shall we proceed? Lots of explanation, no, in today's class. I hope that helps. Does it help? At least give me some feedback. Is it making more sense or not? Somebody say something.
It is.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Janki ji.
All right, thank you. Because otherwise you'll say, oh, too much explanation and we never did the text. So it's difficult to satisfy everybody. Okay, right. So if you tell me what it is you need to know, maybe I could do a better job in saying that. Because remember, it is always the student who leads the class, not a teacher. Because knowledge is always taken, it is not given. When you start giving knowledge, problems occur. So it has to be taken. So the onus is on the student to actually delve into whatever is to be delved into according to them. Right. So let's proceed. Who will read the next paragraph?
Can I
I'll
read
read,
this,
Janki.
Janki ji?
Yes, Aparna. Yes, Aparna will read this one. Milind, you read the next.
People everywhere seek liberation in the world. Every human craves for sweet liberty. Some people leave their motherland and move to other countries in search of freedom. Battles have been fought all along human history in the name of liberty. Freedom fighters, liberty seekers, attain their limited goals in the world, but none has found true freedom through external pursuits. All the successes that people claim fall within the boundary of the world. But the world itself is one large prison. They are limited, restricted to the prison house of the body and its perceptions, mind and its emotions, intellect and its thoughts. In effect, they still remain bound to the world. So the desire to liberate, to free oneself persists. So here the author says that people everywhere, almost everywhere, if you see that they always seeking liberation from the world. And we've seen in history that there have been battles that have been fought with this and keeping this in mind that you can get freedom through external pursuits. But after all this, one has to realize that the world or the realm of the world is still one large prison. And so the desire to again liberate oneself still persists.
Very good. So eventually the only liberation is self-realization. Or you can put it as the only liberation is surrendering your personality, effacing your personality into something higher, nobler, greater than you. As long as you stay in the body, mind, intellect, whatever happens to the body, mind, intellect will happen to you. But when you're able to dissolve this into something higher or nobler, then the repercussions matter less. Like take simple examples, right? There's a teenager. The teenager gets a pimple on their forehead. That is a heartbreaking thing for that poor teenager, right? Now, let us say for argument's sake, that teenager has a mother, no father, only a mother, and that mother is in ICU. And this teenager's job is to look after that mother who is now suffering from some terrible ailment. Will that pimple matter? Because the identification has shifted from herself to something else, to her mother's well-being, that pimple is no longer going to matter to her. It's not that she doesn't know the pimple. It's not that she cannot see it. It's not that she thinks that, oh, I got a pimple, what a wonderful thing I got. It's not like that. It's that it's defocused because the focus is somewhere else. Now take a 40-year-old, okay? 40-year-old lady whose hair is going gray, just started growing gray. Then she's, oh my God, I'm growing old, it's breaking me. But at that very time, if it is Mother Teresa, let's say, do you think Mother Teresa cared whether she was getting white hair or her face was getting wrinkles or any such thing? The importance, the focus that you give the body, mind, intellect is dissolved in if you can be inspired by something nobler, greater. You're a man or a woman who's losing hair. Do you think Mahatma Gandhi, at some stage, he must have started losing hair, right? Do you think that he started worrying, oh, my hair is going? It is gone. In spite of the fact that it could have meant a lot. But it's not. It's genuinely not meaning so much. So when we are able to dissolve our own identity in something, in anything, better, greater, nobler than just the restricted personality, you find that whatever happens to this body, mind, intellect, whatever happens to this restricted personality matters to us less and less. And so in the dissolution of the ego comes about the greatest freedom. As long as the ego persists, we have to be bound by what is going on. What people say, don't say, what happens to our body, what happens to our mind. All of it is phenomenally important. But when you dissolve this, it doesn't matter anymore. This doesn't matter anymore. It's not that you feel it's a good thing if it's a bad thing, or you feel that it's a, sort of a terrible thing when a good thing happens. It's not like that. It's just out of focus. It's not taking all your mental space. That's all that happens. Swamiji always gives that example, remember, of the finger. If I look at the finger, you are out of focus. I look at you, this finger is out of focus. So what are you looking at? That is what will matter in your life. So what is liberation? What is freedom? Is that you have dissolved yourself into something higher, anything beyond yourself, all the way up to the self. Anything beyond the body, mind, intellect, all the way up to the self. Who would read
Janki
Huh.
Here it mentions craves for sweet liberty. What is sweet liberty?
When your wife is there and she's telling you, Milind, take her, take her, take her, take her. How you crave for sweet liberty. That is sweet liberty. I'm free. I don't have to listen. Oh, I have to take the garbage out. Oh, I have to buy the kanda and come home. I don't have to listen to all this. I am free. That is why you're staying. And where Bahrain, right? Where have you gone now? Muscat, wherever you've gone. Sweet liberty. How you feel? Nobody is bothering you. That is sweet liberty. All the men have become very, very thoughtful after hearing this. Just left alone. Even women, same thing. Husband is not saying, oh, my chai is not ready, my breakfast is not ready, my box is not ready. Why have you put this over there? Why didn't you put it over there? Arey baba, chodo yaar mujhe. The feeling that leave me to do my own thing. Why do we not want the British to rule us? Because they will tell us what to do. Why do we not want our boss to rule us? Why? There's an immediate dislike for a boss because he's going to tell you what to do. You don't want it. I'm to be free. Nobody has to tell me what to do. Teenagers will tell me. You don't tell me what to do. I will decide. People don't realize that freedom comes only with dissolution of ego. There's no other way to. Yes, Momita, we have only 1 minute left.
Yeah, but in Vedanta, freedom actually simply means effort. It's just effort. That is what is difficult about the subject. And it's not like it's barely like you feel comfortable now and then you realize that no, I'm comfortable. That means I'm doing something wrong. So actually, this is.
Don't be so depressing, Momita. If you're comfortable, not necessarily you're doing something wrong. You are comfortable, enjoy it. Now, in some time, you'll have to get up and start working.
So it's like we call it freedom, but like somebody said, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. So it's not really free. I mean, till you're free, you're not free. So
yeah, but you're freed from everything lower at every step. When you reach the self, it is freedom from everything, but every step you're free. Now look at you, for instance. You have gone and decided to stay near the university. For everybody else in the class, I don't know if you all know, where Momita has taken this massive step of saying, I will go and stay at Pali next to the university, where the university is supposed to come. Now she will put up with endless. I mean, it's obviously not like living in Mumbai, right? So there are all sorts of inconveniences that she will have to put up with. Some days ago, there was no water. Water has been sorted, Momita. Water has come back. Not yet. Wow. So she's putting up with all this, but is she looking like miserable? She's looking like she's very happy. We don't know whether she's in Mumbai or whether she's near the university. So every single step that you take, you're relieved from the lower. It's an amazing thing, every step up. So yes, you're right. Eternal vigilance means you have to keep moving up. But every step up, lower is gone. It's an incredible thing. And
it's just hard to remember that because it's like Omkar was saying, the next goal seems out of reach always. It's always like, oh, that's out of reach.
Yeah, but what you're not seeing is what you have done is out of reach for some others. And also would have been out of reach for you some time ago.
Yeah.
So it's just, eternal vigilance and also eternal enjoyment. Don't forget that you have to enjoy also. All right, so that's it for today. We will meet. I hope you are all aware that this year's massive fund mobilization and massive awareness drive is the marathon. So tomorrow is the meeting. Are you all in the group already? If you're not, please join the group. Mahesh, can you put the link for the group? If you're not in the group, marathon group, please come. All of us have to work. We need 10 crores. If we have to build now, because we got the land, the architect is making the designs, Momita has gone to stay there, she's going to overlook things, but where is the money to build? So now everybody may or may not be able to raise funds, but everybody will definitely be able to help the effort in some way or the other. So please join the marathon group and come for the meeting. I know many of you are already there, I can see from the names. Come for the meeting tomorrow and let's see how we can help our young Vidushi. Imagine 21 years old and taken on this marathon task, pun intended, amazing. So let's all just join hands and work with her so that we get some results out of it. Tomorrow, 4:30 is the meeting, right? So we'll meet tomorrow. And of course, we'll have morning class. But tomorrow we'll also have the meeting. Okay. Hari Om.
Thank you, Janki.
Hari Om Janki ji.
Hari Om Janki ji. Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om Janki ji. Thank you.